Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Jewish Divorce Project. I'm your host, Noam Rauscher.
And I'm your host, Leeron.
Join us as we kvetch
And kvel about Judaism and divorce. From our perspective as two Jewish professionals and two divorce coaches.
and two Jewish parents with lots of experience and plenty of opinions. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jewish Divorce Project. I'm your host, Noam Rauscher.
I'm Leeron.
Just in case you didn't get it enough in the pre-recorded recording, we're giving you, those introductions again. It's lovely to be here with you on episode 78. I can't believe we made it this far. I probably say that like every couple episodes, like I can't believe we've made it this far, but I'm saying that frequently. It's something a rabbi should say, right? Like always saying Shehechianu.
Well, and I get to get excited like 78, even though I have not been here for all of those, but it's still exciting.
You're part of it.
I'm
You
part
get
of
to
it.
be here for
I've
this.
inherited.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you're part of this. There's no question about it. This is as much your endeavor as it is mine. So yeah, 78. That's a lot. I should have been prepared to do like a little drosh on what 78, the significance of it within the Jewish tradition.
Is there
What
one?
is that?
Is there can you do it for 79?
Is that Ayin? It's Ayin 70? I can't remember anymore.
I have no idea.
I can't remember anymore. It's not
You've
important.
been out of
I was going to riff. I'm not about to go into that. Sorry to disappoint you all, folks, when you wanted your gematria at the beginning of this episode, and you didn't get it. Your fix.
I think everyone will survive.
How you been, speaking of surviving? How are you surviving these days? Did you get washed away in the rain?
Good. No, actually, we went camping again.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Again.
President's Day weekend, we took the trailer with our friends with the quads and the bikes, and they knew how to time it perfectly with the storm, and it was amazing. I even got on the quad. We did a little mom's ride.
You guys had a big bonfire too. You were burning Christmas trees.
Yes. So the guys, first of all, two of them are retired firefighters,
Right,
so I always know we're in good hands.
Safe.
We've got like an electrician and a ex-Marine, and like this is why I feel very safe camping with this group, because I'm like, I don't have to do anything, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the guys bring their Christmas trees. This is their tradition. And they like dug a hole and stuck them so they'd be standing up in the middle of the campfire. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
They lit that thing on fire. It was
big.
Awesome.
Did you feel like the heat all the way back at your campsite?
It was warm, and then it just kind of crumbled away. It was so cool.
That's a really interesting image. Just the sight.
And I was laughing. So my son Micah was the one helping with the like digging the hole, and I was like, "This is hilarious. This is his like closest interaction with a Christmas tree."
You could get my boys to do anything as long as it involved fire.
Yeah.
In some way, sure, yeah, we'll dig a ditch. We won't clean our room. I won't do my laundry or clear the table. You want me to dig a ditch because you're gonna light something on fire? I am there, dude.
Yes. No, the kids were so excited.
That's
poured
really
like
good.
gasoline all over it. I mean, it was crazy. So that was fun.
But camping feels like every couple of weeks.
I mean,
I'm really impressed with this.
This was close. It's whenever I have the opportunity, honestly. If we get invited by friends, like, cool, I didn't have to plan ahead for that.
Right.
We're going camping in the end of March that's what Micah wanted to do for his birthday this year.
Jeez.
He wanted to camp with like his friends from school.
I think that's wonderful.
And I texted the parents and was
That's
like,
great.
"Do you guys camp?" So none of us have camped together, but it'll be super fun.
Right.
They're all like cool families, and
since you know what to do really easily now, you could it's like breathing.
Well, I'm the one with the trailer, and they're all going to be tent camping. So I'm going to be the mama bear.
Please help us out when it's freezing. You have to provide coffee and hot cocoa for everyone at 3 a.m.
Oh, it's so fun. I get excited because I have like a microwave, so I'll come out with like microwave popcorn.
You get to glamp it a little bit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing you do. It really is. I mean, I have my conspiracy theories about it. Like, I think you're practicing to live off the grid when all goes to shit in this country. But like,
I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's not a bad skill to know.
Because you could do it so easily.
It's not a bad skill to know.
And now you know what you could do with your Christmas trees in the event that you come full circle to that experience.
Yes.
Right? That's really good. That's awesome.
So we did that. We had a really great bar mitzvah. Actually, Lauren Connor, who was our guest a couple weeks ago, it was her son's bar mitzvah.
Which I wasn't there for because I was sick.
Yes, you missed that one. But it was a great bar mitzvah. The temple I used to go to, a Burbank temple. So it was fun for the kids. The hilarious part was they made it like a speakeasy casino night type of thing. And so I found my son and his friends who all went to preschool there are now gambling in their old preschool classroom.
That's what just the image of it itself.
It was a great moment.
Should have been serving alcohol and joints.
They were like chugging their Coca-Colas. Like
truly upset the innocence of the situation entirely.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
that was fun.
That's really great.
Yeah. How about you? You have like this is a new start for you. I see you got a new haircut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got a
That's my
haircut.
new big start. That's my eat, pray,
You're
love
starting with
moment. Is
that.
my big haircut. Yeah, I got a hair. It's actually the first haircut I got since the bar mitzvah haircut.
Yeah.
Like I got that 2 weeks before the bar
No,
mitzvah.
this is like so fresh and so clean.
It
New
feels that
start.
way. It's interesting. And I think I mentioned before that there was just so much on my shoulders with the bar mitzvah that getting past all that stuff and then also moving, which needed to be done as well. Like being done with all that allowed me to breathe a little bit, and then I was capable of focusing on getting the haircut. And now it's like,
And a new car. So it's like a new start.
yeah,
A
yeah,
little bit of a new
yeah,
you.
yeah, it is a
Hmm.
used car. I want to be clear about that. It's a
Oh,
used
you're so
car, right?
humble.
Like
It doesn't matter.
it does matter.
You
I
were really
think
excited to get a new. You were ready to.
I
The
was,
car was
yes, it was
ready.
very ready to do that. That car was 15 years old and had close to 160,000 miles on it. It had done me well, but it was time to like get something new. So that was
Interesting.
done.
Is that like it's like a lot of things that you're letting go of that were still part of like when you were together, you know? I mean, not to be
No,
morbid, but your
no,
dog passed away this year and now it's
yeah.
that 15-year-old car. Like this is a big
Well, so yeah,
I'm
you
seeing
bring.
a lot of growth here. I feel like you are going to be attracting now exactly what you want because you're
Well,
really
let's hope because it's interesting that you bring that up because the place I landed after the divorce, right, was a good place. Like I think in comparison to a lot of single dads, I ended up in a really good position, right? And I in a house with a yard, right? Whereas a lot of people might end up in an apartment. I
Mhm.
know of a circumstance where there's a single dad and he has a one bedroom place, and when his kid comes over for the 50% that he has him, he just sleeps on a
Pulled out.
pulled out
Yeah.
couch, right? So I did a pretty good job at that,
Yeah.
right? And the fact that the car was already paid off and I didn't have to get a new one and it still worked really well was really useful too. So I was at a real advantage point, and yet at the same time, I wasn't in a position to like reboot my life entirely, right? It was more just kind of like the separation. And now, yeah, I mean, after all that time, I was unemployed during that time, or I was employed, but I wasn't getting paid very well as a part-time job. And then the pandemic came and that
Yeah.
eliminated everything. And you know about that. And then, yeah, it really has been. It's been like almost a complete 5 years since I've really been able to like reboot things entirely. So that, yeah, I mean, and I think there's a lot of getting used to that as well, whether it's the house or the car. And you're right too, Lucy, putting her down was a staple of the relationship I had before. Got a new
Yeah.
kitchen table as well, right? And I'm trying to get rid of the old one, and the old one is the first kitchen table that we bought together. And so, have I delayed in doing that because there's been some underlying sentimental value to it? Yeah, I probably have been. And yet at the same time, it feels really good to kind of get
Yeah.
rid of it. And then there are other things, right? Like in the whole move of everything, I bought a new rug for my bedroom, right? So I don't have to put my feet on cold wood floors in the morning. In the process of changing it out, I didn't think carefully enough about moving the bed frame and broke the bed frame in the process of lifting it so I could put the rug underneath it.
Oh,
So I had to buy a new bed frame. But you know what?
but that's the old bed frame.
That's
You
the
still
old bed.
had your old
That's
bed?
well, but again, this was moving into a new
No,
place
but
and
I'm
not
saying
having the
like,
disposable funds to
yeah, yeah,
update my
yeah.
life. And so it was like, it's still a good enough bed frame. It still
Can I
works.
tell you that was the one and only first thing that I can say when I decided I was moving was I am getting rid of this bed.
Yeah.
The mojo of
Yeah.
that bed. That was like so important to me.
Right.
That was the only piece of furniture I bought.
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I will say from my standpoint, I feel like I reclaimed the mojo of that bed. So
Yeah.
like I will leave that there. But yeah, it was all part of that was I think, but it was coming to the realization of it is what it was, like in the process of it. Not that I actively needed to do it and felt like, oh man, this piece of furniture is weighing me down, or it's part of a leftover life that I no longer need, or I need to get rid of it in order to like complete this grieving process. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a matter of the functionality of it and the fact that it worked really well at that moment. And again, like there was just no need to really replace it. But now that there was, and once I did it, it felt really good to do so. It felt like, oh, like I got no
You
problems
needed to
getting.
fully break.
But it was also like, yeah,
A little bit of
like I
a
don't. But it was, you know what it was? It was like I don't feel bad about this.
yeah.
Like, all right, it's a pain in the ass because now I got to do something with the better piece, with the pieces that aren't broken entirely, and now I get a new bed frame that's going to cost me a couple of bucks. But you know what? Big fucking
That's
deal,
awesome.
right?
I think it's kind of crazy as I'm listening because we're still getting to know each other. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like we've known each other
yeah.
for all that long. We have such like an interesting parallel. Our lives are so parallel in so many ways. I mean, not to mention that my dog was also named Lucy and
Mhm,
passed away
mhm.
in the last couple of years.
That I didn't know.
But like Oh, that her name was Lucy?
You told me that another point.
Yeah.
I'm playing it up right now.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like just I feel like because I feel like I'm in the same boat too right now. It's like things are settled and I'm feeling like I'm in a really good place. I'm loving what I'm doing for work. I'm in a good place right now and it's almost like you have to like be okay with that. You have to
There's a
learn
huge
to
fucking
be
adjustment.
like not waiting for a shoe to drop kind of a
And I don't want to,
situation.
and I don't even, and sometimes want to talk about it because I'm afraid of jinxing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Which is to say,
Tfu,
like,
tfu.
and things do feel, they
That's the
feel,
Jew in us.
they will feel more aligned right now. It is the Jew
Yeah.
in us. It absolutely, but things I will say feel more aligned in the sense that I've also been working for the current job that I have and the type of alignment of being able to work from home and have that
Mhm.
flexibility. And then also the job really being a reflection of a personal passion. Like I thought being a rabbi was a reflection of a personal passion of mine. This so much more so being the executive director of the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs has been something I've been working towards and didn't even realize it for a very long time. But all the men's work and everything that I've been doing personally for the last
Community
5
building
years
now.
and the commute, right? All that feeds into it.
Yeah.
And it all just feels really good. And is in some ways, yeah, is bizarre.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when did I get to this moment of alignment? Because I didn't know that I was operating to it, even though I was.
You don't really realize that you're out of alignment unless you are in alignment
Let me just be
sometimes,
clear, right? Because we're
right?
stepping into woo-woo waters
No,
here.
it's okay. Let yourself.
I know,
You're
but that's
allowed.
I have no problem with the word alignment. I want everyone to be
Yeah.
clear in the sense that, like, there were certain things that I think we're all striving for, right? Certain consistencies, goals that we have. And we wonder if we really get to that point of being in the space for those things. That's what I think alignment is.
Yeah.
And also when you're living in that way that you want to be living, right?
No,
that
I'm
you
in the same.
espouse.
I'm right there with you.
Right.
Alignment to me is the same thing. I can get a
Yep.
little bit more deep and talk about the vibration you're on and the
Oh,
energies. That's where I
God.
know I'm going to lose you. But as
You're
far as
yeah, I'm not even there.
alignment, no, as far as alignment, I feel the same way too. I'm like in a place right now where I have this job and I wanted to get back into, I was missing a little bit of like, do I want to get back into the entertainment industry? I need to do some negotiating. And so I'm working for a nonprofit,
Yeah. Nice.
which is amazing
Right.
and what I'm good at and what I
It's
want to
Tiffany's
do. And I
place.
feel like,
Yep.
yeah, and I feel like for the She Ready Foundation, I
Ready.
feel like I'm really doing something good for a good cause. But everybody I'm interacting now because I'm planning her big fundraiser celebrity event. I'm back to like my old negotiations and I'm dealing with agents and publicists and selling sponsorships and I'm like just on fire.
You ready? You ready for She Ready?
She is ready. Yes.
There
No,
you
I
go.
feel it. And then at the same time, everything else that's happening with the coaching, and it's just, and I think I was struggling at first with working from home, figuring out how to get the hours in that I need to get
Yeah.
and get to everything and get
Yep.
to the house. And I would find myself wanting to be lazy. Like it was hard at
There's
first.
open space there, and I need to fill it with stuff.
But you know what? It's about figuring out, like, I know for me, I'll give myself a day where I am just working my ass off all day long. And then the next day, I need a day off.
Right.
Right. And a day off might be watching a show while I fold laundry.
Right.
But like, I've kind of figured out my limits. Right.
It's
And it's like,
unnerving, especially when you get the work done,
yeah.
right? And there's nothing else to do. And even when you're proactive about things that you could be doing, you get all that squared away, then it's still, what do you do to fill the time? And you don't want to be lazy, but I know for me, it's like most of it was showing up at work and just being there. So you'd complete your work and just kind of sit around or find something else to do or set up a meeting. But when all that's said and done, then there's other things to be done and you've got your life to worry about and the
Yeah.
balance of all of it. So
My favorite is that I can like have dinner started while I'm working. 'Cause now my kids, oh my God, they've like grown so much. The boys, I mean, our boys are around the same age.
Yeah.
I don't know. They are hungry all the time. Like they come home
Mine
from
smell,
school, they
too.
need 2 dinners. Like they come home from school and they're starving. So I'm like, I gotta have
lots
something
of
ready.
food, lots of food.
Because all they've been doing is just going to the pantry and eating
Soup.
snacks. I'm like, no, I'm gonna have like chili ready. I've been doing that.
Really? Chili? Do they like the chili ready? I'm not that active. I'll have snacks.
I make chili, and when they come home, like they'll have a snack, but they're hungry at like 4:30, 5
It's
o'clock.
definitely like a fourth or fifth meal.
And if I do dinner, then they're hungry again before bed.
Right.
Right.
Wow, so you're
just
giving
like
them
a
like
bowl of chili at
another
like
meal?
I'll have like a bowl of chili, and then later on, like at 4,
Your kids also
4:30.
do a lot of sports.
Yeah.
They're really active.
And then they end up doing their sports, and then they come home and late, and they're hungry. So then I'll give them like chicken and
Right.
broccoli or something like that.
Well, that's interesting. I can't feed my kids
I don't think you could have
vegetables at
chili right
all.
before bed.
I don't know. That might be pretty good. That sounds like good comfort food.
Oh, it sounds gassy.
I could have turkey. I could have a turkey meal before going to bed. That would be amazing. That would be really good. Think about that as we go to commercial break, friends. What do you have before you go to bed at night? Is it chili? Is it a Thanksgiving meal? What helps you sleep at night and doesn't give you gas? From the Jewish Divorce Project.
The law offices of Alexis M. Langer provide estate planning services, helping California families, business owners, and individuals build a plan that protects them today and preserves their legacy for generations to come. For more information, visit www.alexislangerlaw.com. Welcome back.
Can I just say,
So-
I feel like an idiot taking us out to commercial
that
like
was-
that with such a beautiful commercial. When did we get the background music? That was amazing.
It was very meaningful.
What was that? That was
Kind
remarkable.
of shit on it right before.
I really did. I didn't mean to. Sorry, Alexis Langer.
Yeah, we'll make it up to you. So, it's funny. Our topic for today that we decided that we were gonna riff about is, should you get a divorce? I feel like,
What are the pros and cons?
pros
Should you
and
get a divorce or
cons.
should you stay married?
yeah,
Right.
and you know what?
As divorce coaches.
Or hold
Yeah,
on,
Okay.
does it have to be? Are those the only two options?
Well, so I think within that we're gonna find like there are shades of gray.
Yeah.
And, like Ori, looking at your list, I see how we disagree. And let's be clear, like as divorce coaches, the tagline goes, right? You're not pro divorce in any way, right? You are in support of whatever decision your client comes to, right? You're going through it with them, and you will help them get to the decision where they need to be. I've had clients where we work for 3 months together and they end up staying together
Yeah.
because they ended up working through with me, right, how it is that they're going to talk to their spouse about it and what the plan is. And then eventually they come to their moment of talking with the spouse, and we had prepared for the fact that the conversation wasn't going to be in one direction, that it could go in a couple different directions. And it ended up being that they decided to stay together.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm finding that I'm not immediately assuming that divorce is obviously like the best for everyone. There's a lot of different ways to get through things. I do have to say though, when I was trying to think about some things to talk about for this, I was surprised that I had a much easier time coming up with reasons to stay than reasons to leave. And I think that might have to do with my own personal growth
Mhm.
in working with clients, because sometimes, you hear things and they're, you know, my it's hard because you compare it. It's hard. You compare it to your situation, right? And sometimes they'll talk about their ex, and I'm thinking, what is the problem? He sounds amazing.
Yeah, and
You're overreacting, man. You were so lucky he did this and this and this for you. Wow.
it's also reassuring
Like,
me
give me
that-
his number.
I mean, that, like, for as frustrating as the dating scene is, when I hear like these women that I go out with and they tell me about their spouses, like there's sometimes I feel reassured about myself,
You should.
right? Like some of their stories.
I mean, there are a lot of dumbasses out there.
Right.
Not gonna lie.
I mean,
but,
it's just like, oh, I wasn't that bad,
yeah.
right? This wasn't
Yeah.
entirely about me.
Well, you know what's been also really helpful, I think, for me in my own coaching is, I don't know if I told you, a friend of mine from high school reached out, who I hadn't talked to since high school,
Mhm.
because he saw I was a divorce coach, and his wife was telling him she wants to end the marriage,
Mhm.
and I was like, I wanted to refer him to you,
Mhm.
so I was like, I work mostly with women, and he was like, can I just take you out for a drink?
Sure.
So basically, I'm coaching him, and he just buys me drinks, right?
Okay.
He's not the kind that's
Sure
gonna
it's
get
not
a
a
coach.
date?
No, it's not a date.
Okay.
Because we have been
All
working on
right.
trying to get him back with her.
Okay.
No, it's not a
How do you
date.
know he's not working you into like a
No,
E&M poly marriage or something?
No,
like that?
not at all. He is like the most traditional. I love my
Okay.
wife, and he's been working on himself and sees that, yeah, he's been working his ass off and not giving her attention.
Look, that's a whole other market right there as a divorce coach, which is to say you could be on the brink of divorce and I could help you. Right?
Yeah.
You could be a guy.
No,
and
I
you're not
feel with
doing
him,
right.
it was because I was telling him kind of like he would talk about her and things that and I'm like thinking, she's probably, I can really see the female perspective and help him. And because he's my friend and not my client, I've been very honest and maybe more blunt than, you wouldn't just say how you feel you have to kind of get them there on their
Professional
own.
boundary.
Yeah.
Right. But with a friend, you can do it
yeah.
things a little differently. Yeah.
But it's been a really interesting journey watching his perspective, because I can see that he has really grown and is really working on himself. She can't see it. And that's just what happens. When women make up their mind, this is what I tried to explain to him, which I think will be really interesting as we get into this. this was my experience as well. When you are going for years and you're unhappy and you're thinking about, should I stay? Should I leave? When you finally make that decision and you say, this is not right. I need to end this. There's this empowerment that happens of like, I am putting myself first now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing what's best for me. When the husband is trying to win her back and he's trying to be really nice and he's doing all the things she always asked for and he's doing that, it's actually working against him because all it's making her feel is
he's just doing
if she starts to question and she starts to doubt and she actually starts to see a little growth, then she's like, wait a minute, this is not me putting me first.
Right.
And it becomes like it's a negative feeling. The best thing is to kind of back off and let her go through the process on her own. But he was trying really hard to win her back, and it ended with her being like, mm-mm.
Yeah, but so it's counterintuitive is what you're saying, right? If the typical male reaction is to say, okay, she's upset about X, Y, and Z, I can fix X, Y, and Z, right? And what you're saying is that's bad because she's just going to dig her heels in more because she thinks she's not being true to her real self and the boundaries she's now asserted since he can easily just overcome them by fixing things.
Yes, but if this was like 10 years or 5 years of her saying, I don't like this, and he tries, and she got to a point of seeing he is not capable of change.
You're saying it's repetitive.
If it's happened so many times, then she's finally done.
Okay, yeah.
Why now am I gonna? It's that whole like, oh, now you want to act this way. It's too late. Right. So if they get to the point of asking for a divorce or wanting to end the marriage, if
it's already gone far enough, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that if a woman is deciding to end a marriage without it being because of abuse or because of any like real obvious signs, I guess you could say, it's that she's made up her mind, and it's really hard at that point, I think, to change.
Yeah, I think once you overcome the mental hurdle of it all, it's like I'm thinking with my job about how do I convince these guys about how we need to switch our focus, right? You could talk about all the programs that you want to do, but unless you really change how you think about it, right, that's another thing altogether. And once you start thinking about your marriage in a new way, right, you cross that hurdle or you overcome it, then yeah, it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
Why would you when you've adjusted yourself, especially when it's taken you so long to do so?
Yeah.
And the average woman takes what, about like 2 years to come to that decision?
4 years, they say.
2 to 4 years. Yeah, that's a long time. Why would you go back on all
4 years? We were in therapy for 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been really interesting, and it's kind of sad. It's been sad to me. I want to shake her and be like, look, he's growing. He's actually like realizing he's taking responsibility for what he's done.
But it's not. It didn't go. She still went for the divorce.
Yeah.
So what's he doing now? Is he trying to figure out how he's moving forward?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be fine.
Okay, good.
And I'm trying to also be like, was the marriage really that great? Like, is this really what you wanted?
The new perspective now.
Yeah, like, let's see if this is actually, like, how is this going to be a good thing for you?
Right. Right. And what can you learn from it?
Yep.
Okay. Look, working with male clients is a real interesting thing. There are different avenues you can go, and that's clearly a good one too, right? But you're right. If she's so far along, then there's probably nothing you can do about it. So far anyone's along in the process, you probably nothing you can do about it.
So then I'm like, well, now I'm your bro because like he doesn't have anyone to hang out with, and I took him to a strip club.
You really?
I did. We went to Jumbo's Clown Room, which isn't really a strip club.
Jumbo's Clown Room?
You don't know about that place?
I'm a rabbi.
Greg, that's a staple in Hollywood. They don't even get naked. They don't even take their clothes off completely. It's more of like a character fun bar.
Character fun bar?
It's like a bar with hilarious dancers.
What?
It's really fun.
Mysteriously
I think I'm gonna have to take you.
Conversation.
I'm gonna have to take you.
I want to go to Jumbo's Clown Room.
I think you.
I don't like clowns that much to begin with. Why would you want to mix that with sexuality in any way, shape, or form?
Okay, let's get back on topic here.
I want to see his the reference he writes for you, the testimonial.
Oh yeah.
But tell me about what happens at Jumbo's Clown Room.
The strip club.
Now I can't get this out of my head. I can't move forward without knowing about Jumbo's Clown. And of course, they need to be an advertiser now since we've said their name 3 times.
That would be hilarious. I'm gonna look it up.
Going through a divorce? Need a transitionary moment? Come to Jumbo Clown's Room.
Okay, you're killing me.
What happens at Jumbo Clown's Room? You just get drinks and you see weird
No, it's a bar and there's
clowns?
entertainment. No, there's nothing with clowns. It's like circus theme.
Again,
And the women are just like mastery, like pole dancers. They're amazing, but they all come out in like different characters, so it's
as
hilarious.
clowns?
No, no, there's like
If that happened, I think you'd ruin sex for me entirely.
no, there's like the
I would never be able to do
librarian,
it
and then
again.
there's the like.
There's the what?
So there's the librarian. Then there's the one in the cat suit. Then there's the dark one that like looks like she's kind of dead.
The dark one that looks like she's kind of dead? Why would I want to meet a woman that looked like she's kind of dead?
I love that I have these two laughing so hard right now. Okay, so is knowing your husband goes to Jumbo's a reason to get divorced?
I think it is, actually. I think it is. I think I'd probably divorce my spouse if I knew she went to Jumbo's clown room just for a drink. Oh, God. Ugh.
Okay.
Jumbo's clown room?
I was trying to be like a good guy friend. I was like, what do you do?
I think I just thought of the
when
title
your
of this
friend is down
episode.
in the dumps?
You take them to Jumbo's! Jumbo's, Jumbo's, Jumbo's!
Okay.
Where we have all the clowns for your divorcing needs. Oh my God. Okay, with that now securely
This is funny because
in the archives.
Okay, let's get back on track.
Back on
Come on.
track.
Come on now.
All right. We're not editing that out. I just want to be clear to everyone. Don't get your hopes up. That's going to be in there. All right. We wanted to talk about reasons why you should stay together. Leeron took us on this wonderful journey on sometimes it just doesn't work out for as much as you might want to try to keep your marriage together. And then there's a nice lead into Jumbo there. We're probably going to have to do an episode live from Jumbo. We wanted to talk about the top 5 reasons that you should either get divorced or top 5 reasons you should stay married. So should we talk about reasons you should get divorced first?
Sure.
No, let's do the married one first because that was easier to do than the get divorced one, right?
Okay.
Didn't you say that?
Yeah.
You said you had a
I can
tougher
think
time?
of more reasons to. Yeah.
Okay, fine. And let me just say, my whole premise of putting this together was like assuming that like it's healthy enough for that, right?
Yeah.
If there's abuse or danger to anyone's physical health or spiritual or emotional well-being for anyone involved, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right? Don't stick around. Marriage and family life is not worth that stuff. Please, you heard it from us. You'll hear it from everyone. It's not worth it. So this exercise is about like if everything's relatively okay, if there's no danger, immediate, urgent danger to anyone's life or health, that's where we're coming from about this. Okay, so let's talk about this. Reasons you should stay married. You want to hear my first one?
Sure.
Okay, the reason I think you should stay married instead of getting a divorce is because there could be something good and necessary for you about your marriage that you can't see at the moment, right? And this is a matter about really working it and really trying to understand it, because I think the gold standard for marital therapy is you each go individually within the same week, and then you also go together in the same week. Now, that's a shit ton of money. Like, if you're paying $250 an hour for a therapist, I would say for a good therapist, that's $1,000 probably close to spend in a week, right? 750 at the very least.
Okay.
But if you're really working at it, that means that it's not just a function of how you operate as a couple. It's really a function of how you operate as an individual. And divorce could be a nice, easy way to solve it, right? And I think for a lot of people, it probably is. There's a lot of shit going on here. I don't have the energy to untangle it, right? Divorce can really just allow me to start something new. That doesn't mean you're going to solve all those problems. In fact, we know that people still need to solve those problems post-divorce and as they get into the next relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just stay in the current one that you're in, preserve the marriage, preserve the relationship, and learn something about yourself, potentially also deepening the relationship. Go.
Okay. That was a lot.
Go. Jumbo.
That was a lot. Jumbo. Okay. Yes, I think that's a good reason. Fighting for it, staying together. I think one of the reasons I put on here that people, this isn't reasons why I think people should stay. I'm just saying like reasons why I think people in general stay. Yeah. I think I'm seeing a big one of like, they just can't figure out how to live separately financially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's sometimes a reason, maybe not.
Many hands make light work, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think
He
that.
butts life in marriage.
Yes. So I think that I think that in every marriage, that it's basically like two relationships.
Sure.
There's the business of running a family where you're almost like a business partnership. Are you good at handling finances together, running the household, partnering on, things around the house, taking care of the kids together, the way you communicate in that, if you're good at that, like that's one piece of it. But then there's the romantic, being in love relationship part. And if just that part of it is what's not working anymore, right? You fell out of love, there's no intimacy, there's no friendship and communication. That I think doesn't necessarily have to be a reason for a divorce. You might be able to cohabitate or even, and open up your marriage or just choose to live together kind of separately in some ways.
Mm.
And I'm seeing a lot more of that. And a lot of people who
For
have
sure.
to do that because they can't afford to move out because of the strike or whatever happened and one's not working. And
But they are
so,
divorcing. They're just deciding to live together because it's financially feasible.
yeah, and maybe they know that like eventually they'll get a divorce, but it's almost like how do we separate and be together as a step?
It's not a
And
bad
it's
midway
not,
point when you think about it, right?
yeah, but the kids, this is where I struggle in that if you're like living together in a situation where like you have a guest house, someone's in there or an extra room or something and you're not even sleeping, like, is that good for the kids to see?
That's a very good point, right? All of it.
Fighting isn't good.
All of it. All of it. Look, and frankly, I did have one of my reasons to stay married is because relationships aren't something that you can avoid in your life, right? We all need relationships. The research is out about that. The quality of our lives are determined by the quality of our relationships.
Hmm.
Um, the tensions that people have in relationships don't go anywhere. They repeat themselves. They come up all the time. It's a good argument for the relationship getting deeper and stronger is having those types of tensions and stress on it. Why not stay together and be honest with your kids about what's going on, right? Even from a young age, as people
Yeah.
talk about sharing things with kids in age appropriate ways about how we're really trying to make this work. We really are, right? We made a promise. And in addition to that promise, we enhanced it with you as a blessing in our life. And keeping this unit together is important for all of us. And we're really going to try in this way. And in that way, you can make the argument. One of my arguments is to get divorced for the kids, right? If it's an unhealthy scenario and you can't make it work and all they're seeing is strife and fighting, you want to give them a better image of what marriage and
Yeah.
relationships can be like.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, if you can show them how to work it out healthily and to build something strong, and even then, if you do separate, but you're still really good friends, I think you've probably done a lot more of a service to your children than would you have just been divorced.
I think that is such an ideal situation that can work if both people genuinely both are on the same page. But I think it's rare. I think it's more common that
Oh,
one
sure.
person wants it and the other
Sure.
one is angry and doesn't. And that's where you can't. I mean, I remember when we sat down with my kids, with my older son, and we said we talked about what we were going to say ahead of time, right? And I said we're I was going to move out. We're not going to be
Right.
together anymore. And when he asked, "Are you getting a divorce?" at the same exact time, I said maybe, and he said no,
Oh,
and
really?
it was like,
Right.
and so that's
But did you guys talk about it in advance? Because
yes,
even you said maybe.
we did.
Was he
Well, I
supposed to
said
say
maybe
maybe?
no, probably should have said yes, but it was like it
Neither
was
one of
so
you did a good job
fresh,
at
and I
that.
was like, that maybe is a little easier at this point because the way
Yeah,
Micah
but you
said
know
it was
you should have
so
just said yes.
yeah.
We're
Well,
getting
then
a
that and
divorce.
I would say yes, and he would have said no. So that would have been interesting.
It would have been really interesting. It
But
would have been
that's
really interesting.
basically where he was still not in
It's a
acceptance that this
very
is
I
happening.
mean, I
He wasn't
remember
in acceptance, like he couldn't get
it's
there.
a very difficult conversation to have. I remember saying it through tears and needing to lead that conversation. That was a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Well, we had such a hard. My son had such a hard time. It was amazing though. Was Rabbi Carrier at the
Oh, really?
temple. When he started, he would after Hebrew school, he would sit with him and talk to him, and he really helped him through it
Nice.
because he also had gone through a divorce with his kids, and so that was really special. And that's why when it came time for the bar mitzvah, Micah was like, "He's my rabbi."
Of course. It makes sense. That's the whole point.
But that was really special that we had that. But yeah, I think another reason to stay together, honestly, is like if it has to do the age of the kids. I think is important. I think that if they're under 3,
Hmm.
you have a kid under 3 and they're still like a baby, and the thought of moving back and forth with a
I don't think
child
that's
that
with the
age, I think
kids.
that that might be something that parents would say, let's wait until they're a little old. I'm not saying let's wait till the kids are out of the house, but like
Right.
I do think there's maybe over 3 would
See,
be
I would
easier.
argue that's actually a good time to do it because the kid doesn't know any better and the kid's not attached to it.
No, for
And
the kid, for the parents, it's really hard.
I know that, but I don't think
Yeah.
that's for the favor of the kids, right? I think that's, in favor of the individual parents, and that makes a lot of sense. Um,
I just think that adds such a
yeah,
layer of like taking care of a baby is so hard
it
on your
does.
own.
Yes, I think that's a
And the
foolish thing to
trust and
do.
the la la, it just
And
sounds a
just
lot.
needing each other to do it,
Yeah.
right? And in that way, it does help the baby, right? Because you're dividing the time up between the parents, and so perhaps they're less exhausted as they could be, right? So yeah, okay. I also said that there's no reason you should stay married because there's no reason to completely reboot your life and disrupt stability for everyone, right? You could do so moderately by really figuring out what you need to move forward with this thing, even if it's not the marriage that you initially envisioned on your wedding day.
Yeah. I think that people don't, when you're married, you don't find the time or really see the need to really have those times for self growth. You also, it's like a gift you get when you have a weekend without your kids. And you're like, ooh, what am I into? Who am I?
Right.
You don't, I wish my married friends did that.
So, but this is
But
what I
they
think.
don't do it, and then you start to assume your happiness should be coming from your spouse, and you don't even
Oh
have that
no.
moment of really figuring out when you're married,
Or
it's
that the
hard.
family should be the source of the happiness. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I think is the shift that's really going on culturally is that, all these needs to focus on the self, like you're saying, to do that self care within the confines of a marriage, I don't think was really, really much around in past generations. It certainly wasn't around for women,
Yeah.
right? And it hasn't been around for men either because it seems like there's just been this commitment to the family, right? You've got to do everything together. And if you spend too much time focusing on yourself, then you're not really committed to the family. But it seems the way the shift has gone is through that example of the oxygen mask in the plane,
Mhm.
right? You need to be able to really focus on yourself and take care of yourself if you're going to then take care of the family. And if that means divorcing in order to do it, right, then you must be able to do that. You must divorce in order to be able to take care of your family. Whereas again, a generation ago, I think it was no, no, no. The family has to come to the sacrifice of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think back and I'm like, wow, I feel like I've really gotten to know myself so much more these last years, and I've had a lot of time on my own, and I've figured out who I am, and I'm like, if only I could have done that while I was married, would anything have changed?
Right.
That's my own personal,
Right. Or
you
if you
know.
co-parented, right, in marriage, if you took the time off from kids guilt-free just because that's the way you arranged it.
Yeah.
Part of that's some of the grieving process and the bargaining, right? That would be a good example of knowing that you're still grieving a little bit, or there's still a bit of grief there. If you go back and you start thinking like, "Oh, I should have done that, and things
Mhm.
would have been different." That's bargaining,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily going to help because maybe what you did at the time was the best thing you could do.
Well, also when if you're in a toxic if you're with somebody who is
Oh
toxic
God,
to you,
yeah,
how can you even get to that
right,
place?
right,
So I think that, I mean, you know,
exactly. Well, and so that brought me to another point, which is to say you should stay married because maybe there's a way of figuring out that you can maintain your marriage and edit the dynamics of it so that your marriage changes so that you can ultimately get what you want. Right. And we had talked about this before about having people on the show who had been in open marriages and whatnot and figure out a way to make it work. We don't often think of those things, I think, critically enough or to the point where they could actually be really useful for us. We think that it's either marriage or divorce and there's no gray in between. And that could actually be really
or
useful
cheating.
or cheating. Right. We label it as cheating. We don't
Yeah.
really ask ourselves what it's about and how it impacts people.
Yeah, if someone is seeking connection outside of the marriage, that's what it is, okay? It's not necessarily cheating. If somebody is seeking connection outside of the marriage, they're not feeling the connection they need, whether it's physical or emotional, from their spouse. It's either a matter of saying, okay, let's make this connection happen again and let's see if we can make it happen again. But if it doesn't happen again and both people are kind of okay with, with that relationship, then I think it's a really healthy way, in all honesty,
Nice.
personally.
Nice. What about divorce, though? Why are you pro divorce?
Um,
Assuming, again, it's not physically harmful to
well,
anyone.
yeah, I was gonna say
Right.
obviously the abuse. I think that there's a lot of not just physical, emotional, but like a lot of financial abuse, a lot of issues with control. If you're with someone that is controlling you, it can go both ways, man or woman. I think that that's not healthy and that's not a good example for your kids. That might be a reason. I think the lack of division of labor gets to a point. We've talked about this a lot, and it seems like it shouldn't. I feel like the older generations before us would be like, that's not a reason to get a
No, because
divorce.
that's the way they did it. And I would argue there's still probably a lot of people now who would argue that they don't give a crap about that.
Yeah.
And it's no reason to divorce either.
But I think that if it's to the point that it is really um, destroying your sense of self and it's making, and it's bringing out the worst in you and you're not getting, it's basically a lack of support. It's a lack of support. And um, I think that that's not something that people should have to live with, that can really take a toll on you.
It's exhausting, really,
Yeah.
is what it is. And you start treating someone else like a butler or taking them for granted. You feel entitled. It's not good.
Yeah, and I really do think it's when people say the work, it's like, if you've gone to counseling or you've met with coaching and you've done those things and you've really weighed out the options, then yeah, get a
Yeah, I go a little bit more general than that. Like I say things like if it's good for you in the sense of like, yeah, if you're exhausted from the lack of emotional equity or labor equity in your home, or if it's good for you in the sense that like it's a really suffocating environment, right? Having nothing to do with abuse, but just because you can't really be who you want to be, right? You don't
Mhm.
feel like marriage helps you in that way. It doesn't bring out the best in you.
Exactly, being with someone that
Right.
brings out the worst in you,
That's exactly
obviously.
right. And
Yeah.
then the flip side of it, it could be good for your spouse. Maybe you're the reason why your spouse is a real shit, right? And like they need to be away from you and the marriage isn't working out from them. And for their
Mhm.
sake, the marriage needs to end. For the kids, we've talked about that and not, them not growing up in that environment. I also said for the sake of the relationship, right? Maybe you had a friendship beforehand that needs to be preserved, or maybe even, since the relationship isn't working out, you need to get divorced because you still have kids there, right? And they need to see that relationship working out. You need to have something functional, right?
Mhm.
Because it's just not going anywhere. And then the other thing I said was that it could be a good example for someone else. I mean, what we're talking about is not just something that happens in your own life. Marriage is an institution that's been passed on for generations, for millennia. So wouldn't it be something to be able to say, I'm going to step outside the norm,
Yeah.
right? To allow people to see that, particularly in communities where that happens so frequently, right? To be able to step outside of that and say, I'm doing something differently and I don't care what you say, right? This is a matter of being an example towards a conventional institution that requires checking, I think, from time to time to really explore what it's about. Because I think we all know that it's not perfect. That's why we
Mhm.
have these conversations.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I felt like for me that was my situation because it was like I was breaking up a family and ending a marriage just because I was choosing to be happy. You know what I mean? Like that's what it looked like is like, oh, I was just claiming
Well, and
I
then
just did not want to be miserable
no,
anymore.
and that's a
But it
totally valid
was
thing.
yeah, but it's a harder thing. I mean,
But a generation
it's
ago,
like there's
you
no
wouldn't have been privileged for that. And a generation ago, you would have been thought of as crazy for
yeah.
wanting something like
And
that.
and that's the feeling I got from like people in his family that
Oh,
were
sure.
older and I
Yeah.
was the like, you
Right.
know,
Right.
yeah. So, but I did prove to myself and to people around me that my life improved drastically once we split up. And it's just kind of,
And that'll be the
you
longitudinal
know,
lesson you give to the boys too.
yeah,
Right? It really will be.
yeah.
There you go, folks. There's lots of good reasons to either stay in your marriage or get divorced. You heard it from two skilled and veteran divorce coaches who have been through it themselves, right? It depends, right? It really depends your circumstance and what's working for you and what's not working for you and what your possibilities are. But the advantage of working with a divorce coach is that you don't make these decisions in a vacuum,
Yep.
right? And you have someone to bounce them off with, and you can actually think clearly about, are you moving towards a bigger picture or are you operating emotionally in that moment?
Mm-hmm. Great.
There you go.
Well,
Without But
no, I was
what
just
do you
gonna
want to
say,
say?
thank you for listening,
Yeah.
everybody.
And without just ending the conversation by trailing off, we're officially ending the conversation now with another reference to Jumbo's Clown Room. See you next
If you're
week.
interested in becoming one of our sponsors or have questions and thoughts about the podcast, please email us at thejewishdivorceproject@gmail.com.
And you can always find us on social media at the Jewish Divorce Project on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you'd like to work with me, I specialize in divorce coaching for women. I can be found at mydivorceconcierge.com and on Facebook and Instagram at mydivorceconcierge.
And if you're interested in working with me for divorce coaching or spiritual coaching, I work with people of all kinds, of all backgrounds as well. My email address is noamrauscher@gmail.com. That's NOAMRAUCHER @gmail.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Noam Rauscher.